In this lecture, we're going to be discussing the economic problem. We'll be looking at the reason why economies exist in the first place. The syllabus includes describing the production possibilities curve. We'll also define allocative efficiency and look at some of the costs of economic growth. We'll see the benefits we get from trading with other countries. And finally, we'll examine two different types of economies that exist in today's world. Let's start by talking about the production possibilities curve. To explain the concept of the production possibilities curve, let us imagine that we are in some economy where only two goods are produced: food and clothes. In this economy, there is no international trade and no government either. In our economy, the production possibilities curve is showing us the upper bound, or upper limit to production. We can't produce outside the production possibilities curve because we don't have the resources to do that. Any point inside the curve is attainable because it is below the maximum possible production. Point A, for example, lies within the curve, and thus we can produce at point A. We can produce the quantity of clothes and the quantity of food at the same time because we have the available resources to do so. Any point on the production possibilities curve is also attainable. Point B, for example, lies on the curve. We are able to produce the quantity of food and clothes that is specified at this point. Point C, however, lies outside the curve, and thus we can't achieve this point. We don't have the resources to do so. The production possibilities curve represents scarcity because points outside the curve are not attainable. There is a limit to the amount of resources that we have, so we need to choose how to use them. This is the basic idea of scarcity. Production efficiency means that we are producing a good at the lowest possible cost. Any point on the production possibilities curve is considered to be productively efficient. All our resources are put to use, and so we are able to devote our best resources to the production of each good. Any point inside the production possibilities curve is considered to be inefficient. Let's think about it logically. We can move from point A to point B. This makes sense because both points are inside the production possibilities curve. You will notice, though, that to move from point A to point B, we don't produce any fewer clothes than we did before, but we are able to produce more food. This means that we had extra resources that we weren't using before. Resource use wasn't efficient because all our resources weren't being used. Thus, we couldn't have had productive efficiency at point A. Keep in mind that point B is still within the curve. Even it is still an inefficient combination of production of food and clothes. If point B were on the curve, then it would be considered efficient. The production possibilities curve illustrates a trade-off between our two goods. Let's say that we are producing on the curve at point A, and we want to move to point B because we need more food. We can see just by looking at the graph that in order to produce more food, we have to produce less clothes. This happens because we have a limited amount of resources. If you remember from a previous lecture, the resources in an economy are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. We don't have an infinite amount of these resources, so we can't just continue to produce as much food as we want. There is a limit. And if we want to produce more food than before, then we have to divert some resources away from producing clothes and towards producing food. We'd have to pull workers away from clothing factories and send them to farms, for example. Opportunity cost is defined as the highest valued alternative foregone. This just means that whatever you're giving up in order to get something else is considered the equivalent of the cost. If you don't understand the next little bit, don't worry. I'll clear up any confusion with an example. Just bear with me. Opportunity cost is seen as a ratio. It is the decrease in the quantity produced of one good divided by the increase in the quantity produced of the other good as we move along the curve. Because this is a ratio we're talking about, the opportunity cost of producing more clothes in terms of food is simply the reciprocal of the opportunity cost of producing more food in terms of clothes. Like I said, just bear with me, this will all make sense in a minute. We can see that the opportunity cost of producing a good increases as the quantity of that good being produced increases. This is seen as the curve steepens. The logical reasoning behind this is because not all resources are equally productive in producing each good. If I ask a chef to start working in a clothes factory, he may not be able to produce as many clothes as a seamstress. Now to clear up any confusion, let's take a look at a concrete example. Let's say we start at point A and want to move to point B. Now we are producing one additional unit of food and one less unit of clothing. The opportunity cost, as we defined before, is the decrease in the quantity produced of one good divided by the increase in the quantity produced of the other good. So this would be equal to 1 over 1. The opportunity cost of producing 1 unit of food as we move from point A to point B is 1 unit of clothing. Now let's say that we move from point B to point C. Well, now we have to give up 10 units of clothing to produce 1 more unit of food. The opportunity cost here would be 10 over 1. This illustrates the fact that in order to produce more food, we have to start giving up even more clothes than before. If we want to go from point C to point B, the opportunity cost would be 1 over 10 units of food. This is the reciprocal of the opportunity cost we saw going from point C to point B.